How would you assess your emotional health? Do you believe you are emotionally well, or possibly do you sometimes have flashbacks to the past of things said to or about you? Do you sometimes have mental images of things you have seen in the past that might inhibit you from performing at your maximum potential? Listen to this podcast from a person who is, by many measures, very successful, but he recognized his need for emotional health, and he is right now receiving emotional health. Hi there, and thank you for joining us on the Overcomers Overcoming podcast. We feature those who are in the process of overcoming or have overcome any type of life encounter, life obstacle that at the time seemed to be almost insurmountable. With this podcast, we have three objectives in mind. Our first objective is we want you to know with a confident resolve you are not alone. We want to work with you. We want you to know there are others who are working with you, who want to help you through whatever you are encountering, and together we will get through whatever you're experiencing.
Our second objective is there are multiple options for any life encounter you are facing. We want to help you develop a resolve that there are various options and solutions to any life dilemma.
Our third objective is to help you with critical thinking skills. If you're encountering something that was possibly a decision you made sometime in the past, and if you had the opportunity for a life redo, you would make a different decision. We want to help you with those critical thinking skills that can help you make an informed decision and not encounter what you're going through at the moment. We are the Cooper Culture, a veteran-owned business. We work with business personnel and families to develop and sustain connected relationship cultures within their families and organizations. That type organization is one where people feel wanted, appreciated, and genuinely a part of that organization. I'm with my wife and business partner, Marty, who is helping me facilitate this podcast. Today we feature Alan Lazaros for a second episode. During the first episode, right at the end, Alan acknowledged he had some emotional traumas that was affecting his performance, albeit he acknowledged he's very intelligent, very successful, was making a fair amount of money at the time, but he acknowledged he had some emotional attributes about himself he needed to get resolved. A very close friend of his recommended emotional therapy. He is getting, right now, in progress, emotional therapy, and it's helping him to process information and help him to overcome some of his past events. Marty, what are some takeaways we can learn from Alan and his testimony of emotional trauma and the emotional therapy he is receiving?
Ron, I'm glad Alan agreed to come on and talk about the therapy, the emotional therapy that his best friend recommended, and talked him into believing it's okay to have therapy. I think women accept therapy a lot more than men. Men put a mask on and just think, oh, I can't say anything because what would others think of me? So I hope there's someone listening, or many that men are listening and know that it's okay to get therapy, because in the end you're better off talking to someone that can really help you and help you through whatever trauma you've had.
That's very well said, Marty. Yes, many of us do have a problem accepting we need, and Alan is very eloquent in saying he needed, he's getting, and he's better because of it. Let's listen and learn together. Hey, Alan, great to have you back with us for a second episode. When we left off our previous podcast, you somewhat casually mentioned emotional quotient. We didn't go into great detail, but I'm focusing on emotion, and you did mention you are in emotional therapy. I think it'd be great, Alan, for you to discuss with us the inception of that, how it came about. Was it you personally who realized you need it? Was it through the urging of someone else? I'm asking you these kind of questions because I feel very confident there's some male listeners who may be thinking, well, we men don't get emotional and all this kind of stuff. And Alan, you're very successful. And my guess is you realize the need for emotional therapy. Here you are. Alan, great to have you back with us.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor. You guys, I'll come back anytime you guys want. You guys are awesome. So first and foremost, I did have that little thing of whatever has been enculturated. So I was on a podcast earlier with a man named Jim, and I said my sister growing up had a diary. I didn't start journaling until I was 26 years old. And so that inner work, that deeper reflection, because what is the difference between coaching and therapy? And so I do have a therapist. Her name is Carol, and I always playfully joke. I say, if you want a coach, you probably need a therapist. That was me. And if you want a therapist, you probably need a coach. A coach is about the future. A coach is about aspiration and goals and metrics and habits and how to achieve through science, how to achieve your goals and dreams. And it's very future oriented. Therapy is much more about in here, how you work and why you work that way. So I always say coaching is about the future and it's about how to achieve goals. How is the underlined word there.
Yep.
And that's what I do with people. I teach them how. How do you start a podcast? How do you monetize it? How do you build a business underneath it? How do you do a brand? How do you sell? What's the flywheel? And then therapy is why to start a podcast. It's why to build a business. It's understanding how you tick, your triggers, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. It's all about you. And so my therapist, her name is Carol. She's from my alma mater. She went to WPI because I needed to pick one who I knew was brilliant. And her modality of therapy is called internal family systems. And the shortest form way I can describe this is if you've ever seen the Inside Out movies by Pixar, it's kind of like that. And I think those films are perfect to describe why emotional intelligence is powerful. Particularly the second movie, it talks about anxiety and how that's driving the character in the film.
Right on.
But ultimately, if you don't understand what triggers you, if you don't understand what motivates you, if you don't understand your own trauma, if you don't understand what your real fears are. So for example, I think everyone, I always joke, I say, there's two types of people in this world. The first type is afraid, and the second type are liars. I knew that you would laugh at that, Marty.
Yep.
So we're all afraid of something. What I realized in hindsight in my 30s is that we're not all afraid of the same thing. Sure. So the three main fears of the human condition are fear of failure, usually fear of being seen as a failure, not failure itself. Number two is fear of judgment. And number three is fear of success. So I had the third one, big time. And we all are in this sort of comfort zone between failure and success where we don't want to be a failure in the eyes of our peers, but we also don't want to be so successful that we get ostracized from our peers. So for me, growing up, I had a lot of abandonment challenges. Birth father passed away at 2, stepfather left at 14, kind of lost 3 families in a way by the time I'm 14 years old. And I've since reconnected with my birth father's side. But that was a lot like seeing the ghost of Christmas Past because I look a lot like my father. But ultimately, abandonment, social abandonment was my trauma. And so my fear was success. Because if I go and be more successful, I'm going to get ostracized from my peer group. And that's literally what happened in many ways. And some of that's by choice, and some of that is just people being awful to me, to be honest. But ultimately, we are all afraid. But it's therapy and EQ and understanding ourselves that really needs to have the inner world sort of unlock, because I went to college with some very genius people who were unbelievable engineers, and a lot of them are now multimillionaires, and sometimes there are still emotional children who are playing video games while their wife cooks, and I just can't. To me, you need to be an adult, and there's an expiration date on not working on yourself, and unfortunately, a lot of people that are very successful in the economy are not well developed internally, and some people that are well-developed internally don't actually succeed in the economy. And so we need both personal development and professional development. We need IQ and EQ.
Yep, very
Yeah.
important what you just said. And we all have the need to be connected. And I'm sensing you're saying, Alan, you felt emotionally separated, disconnected. I don't know that you would use the word lonely, but that word, that term does apply sometimes.
Well, so this is something I never had the courage to share until my 30s. When my stepfather left and took his entire extended family with him at 14, my mom got in a fight that same year with my Aunt Sandy, and my Aunt Sandy sort of ostracized us from that side of the family. And the McCorkles, my birth father's side, we didn't really associate with when we were sort of the Lazaroses. So I kind of lost three families by the time I'm 14, and that same year my sister moved out with her older boyfriend. So I realize in hindsight that created some abandonment issues. And so I kind of contorted myself to try to fit in so that I wouldn't get abandoned. And unfortunately, as someone who, again, I never used to share this, who is intellectually gifted, it also meant I never called anyone out for their stupidity. And I was around a lot of irrational people who were very unintelligent. So it created this sort of recipe. If you've ever seen Good Will Hunting, I resonate deeply with that. Surrounding yourself with the wrong people because you're afraid of abandonment, even though you're kind of a genius. And so for me, I had to sort of go inward and realize, okay, I have to start having the courage to actually be me, because a lot of engineers will resonate with this. Engineers statistically are smarter than average, but they're also very lonely.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason they're lonely is because they have a modality of thinking in mathematics and formulas, and that's not how most people think. Most people think with words and concepts, vision, pictures, images, or energy. Most men, I think, most women think in intuition, energy, and vibe. That was that was mine that I didn't have. So there's four modalities of thinking. There's math, formulas, and numbers. That's the rarest, and that one's mine. So anyone who has that as their main mode of thinking, you're an esoteric weirdo like me, and you try to hide it, unless you have courage. And then there's vibe, energy, and intuition. Women tend to have that one more than men. And then you've got words and concepts. That's common. Everyone freaking words and concepts. And then you've got pictures, images, and vision. And those are the visionaries of the world. But ultimately, mine was math, numbers, and logic and rationality. So for me, I looked around. It was like, I felt like everyone was irrational. And so I thought when I was a kid, I remember thinking everyone is lazy and everyone's dumb. No. You're really intelligent and you're really hardworking. Got it. But you don't usually think that because you don't want to think you're so great, right? So ultimately, my point of this is the esoteric weirdos out there, you do feel lonely and you don't feel a strong sense of belonging. My therapist literally said, Alan, you're in the intelligence quotient of 0.005%. So you're never going to really feel like you belong. And I remember when I used to have a drinking problem, I used to drink to try to fit in because drinking made me dumber.
Well, that is right there. That's very important, Alan. Not so much the drinking part. I need to fit in. I maybe will do whatever it takes to be accepted by, even if it's the wrong circle of friends.
100%. And that's exactly, I did that. I used to try to fit in, and it was unconscious. I didn't know that's what I was doing. I would sort of dim myself if I had to, or dial myself up if I had to. I didn't understand that that's what I was running. And then the car accident at 26 woke me up to that. And I realized, okay, I got to live a life true to myself. I got to follow my own dreams. And if people want to come with me, that's great. But if they don't, I can't live in fear of that. And so we have either fear of failure or fear of success, because really underneath it is fear of not being loved or maybe abandoned. So.
And the fear of abandonment, I think, is, and thank you for being so transparent to mention that, Alan, but I think there are some people who, when they hear you explain that, might think, that has happened to me. That's been a part of my background. I've just never maybe known the term to express it. And I certainly don't have the courage to express it. But now that you are confident enough in yourself to mention it, I feel that way. I think that's what a lot of listeners, how they may feel right now.
Well, you two are of an older generation, and you realize as you get older and you mature that a lot of that fear of what people think of you starts to dissipate over the years, and your circle gets smaller and smaller and smaller, and it gets bigger in some ways. Your impact can get bigger, but when I remember I had high school friends and college friends and corporate friends, and I I brought my high school friends to the college parties, and I brought my college friends to the corporate. I literally they had a referral program at my company at the time, and I remember I got 3, 6, 9, 12. I brought like 5 of my colleagues into the company for these huge bonuses, and I realized in hindsight a lot of what was driving was just not wanting to be alone. I wanted to be with my people, and the tribe, so to speak, that I associated with was not the best tribe for me in hindsight. And so I quit drinking and I quit drugs and I quit all the vices that were holding me back. And when I quit those things, I also lost a lot of the friends that still do those things. And I think that's what courage is having the courage to go be your full self, whatever that is. And you know, if you feel like you're not good enough, you got to own that and then go be better. If you feel like you're too much for people like me, you got to own that and go be better. And so, yeah.
Now, of everything you've described, do you feel that your emotional therapy helps you to deal with those trigger points when you feel that, well, I feel abandoned at this moment in my life for the next minute or so? And I'm asking you, Alan, in context, do the past feelings, are they ever expunged so that you cannot recall them at all? Or are you at a point where you just know how to deal with something that may trigger something of the past?
Exposure therapy is a really good example of this. I remember after my car accident, I was really claustrophobic, and I kept getting pulled over because I was in my car accident. I was on the wrong side of the road. It was a head-on collision, so I kept getting pulled over because I was too far on the right side of the road. So I had some PTSD to deal with, and I remember I would puff my chest up and walk in and out of tight doorways to try to overcome my claustrophobia. So I don't think it ever fully goes away, but it gets better and better and better the more you do it, just like podcasting. So I'm not as concerned. When I first started sharing this stuff, I mean, I didn't even talk about my dad's death until I was 26. So you just get exposure therapy by pushing that boundary a little more courage, a little more courage, a little more courage. And so to answer your question, I still get triggered, but not as much as I used to. And not only is it not as much as I used to, but I also handle it differently. I notice it and then sink into vulnerability or choose courage. So a lot of people thought I was very arrogant. And if you watch the movie Good Will Hunting, that character looks very arrogant when in reality he's fear of abandonment. And he is very, very smart and feels misunderstood by everybody. And I remember on my MySpace back when I was 16 years old, I had the duck pond scene from Good Will Hunting on there. And now I realize in hindsight why that is. But ultimately, I appeared arrogant because I didn't want to get hurt. So I kind of created this sort of distance between me and others. And I realized that came off as arrogance. Whereas vulnerability is sort of sitting in the contrast. So I notice the contrast between me and other people often. Not everyone works 7 days a week and hasn't taken a day off in 10 years. Not everyone is a successful business owner. Not everyone is brilliant. And so people get triggered and they get insecure around me. And I recognized that my insecurity is other people's insecurity. Because sometimes growing up, whenever I would challenge the status quo, I would be attacked both metaphorically and literally. And so I realized that I'm afraid when other people are triggered because fight, flight, freeze, and fawn, fight might be attack me or lash out or say something mean. And so I realized, okay, I'm actually not insecure. I'm insecure that they're insecure. Got it. I can lean into vulnerability and courage, and if they don't like me, they don't like me. And that's okay. And if I get attacked, I can handle it now because I'm a grown man instead of a little kid. And so therapy's really helped me lean into the man instead of the cub, so to speak. And I think that's why Lion King resonates so much, is because Simba has to go back to Pride Rock and face his past as a lion instead of a cub. And that's why I always quote those two movies as my favorite films.
Let me ask you very candidly, is it useful to have discussions like this? That is, can you maybe increase your confidence that you are making and helping others benefit through awareness? Is that useful to you?
Yeah, I mean, the topics that are taboo, one of the reasons why we don't break these patterns and these negative things is because no one talks about them. So, I mean, I quit drinking many years ago. It took me a long time, but I did it. And I actually said I'm an alcoholic, and I raised my hand. I drank too much and too often. You know what's ironic and kind of paradoxical and almost comical is most of the people I was around who think they're not alcoholics are way more of an alcoholic than I ever was. The difference is I admitted it. And so the first step to change is admitting the truth. You have to admit that you are lost. You have to admit that you're not that smart. You have to admit that you need help. You have to admit that therapy is a good idea. And so the car accident for me, I had to admit all of my regrets. And after that, of course, transformation happens. So everything starts with hard truth and admitting the hard truth. And then you can make progress. But if you keep telling yourself a story, you're awesome when you're not. You're going to be stuck forever.
And I appreciate what you just said. Yep, it takes courage to make a decision. And I mean, I'm curious, did your decision to seek emotional therapy, was that primarily your decision? Was it, I'll say, coaxing from another person? How did that decision come about?
Best gift of my life is Emilia Smith. She is my partner, my best friend. She's my everything. And whenever I used to hear people say that when I was a kid, I used to think, yeah, okay. When I met Emilia, she's my business partner, she's my gym partner, she's my intimate partner, she's my life partner, she's everything. And she's been doing therapy since she was 12, and she suggested it. And it wasn't from the frame of, hey, you're broken, go fix yourself. It was, hey, I've been doing this work for decades, and you're leaving opportunity on the table by not doing it. And I thought to myself, well, guys can't even ask for directions, never mind get a therapist. I'm joking. But ultimately, I thought to myself, yeah, unfortunately, yes. Statistically, women are more humble. I'm certain of that. But the truth of the matter is I had that thing of, okay, it has to be the right therapist. And so I had a person in my mind who I had interviewed years earlier, named was Carol. And I knew she was brilliant because I know myself to know I need someone who I know is brilliant. Because if you're not brilliant, it's going to be hard for me to trust your ability to connect dots and that kind of thing. So I found someone who was second in her class, who went to my college, and I do believe is brilliant, and she's been tremendous. So the wrong therapist is a terrible idea. The right therapist will change your life, and hopefully you have people in your life who are willing to hold up the mirror. That doesn't mean they shove the mirror in your face. It's not like she's like, you need a therapist. It was, hey, I think this would really help you. And I'm leading by example too. Because most of my childhood was, hey, you should do this. And I'm sitting there going, you freaking don't. Right? Where is the leading by example? It bothers me so much. Like, if you're not leading by example, just shut up. I don't even know what else to say at this point. It's alarming to me, all these people that have such strong opinions but yet do nothing. And so you'll never hear me talk about anything that I'm not currently doing.
You seem to be saying, okay, set the example, but surround yourself with people of action, surround yourself with people who are in motion and implementing, executing what they're talking about, and surround yourself with the right people and those who accept you and those who share your values. That's a term Marty and I frequently use. I can tell you, as you described your partner, you just described Marty with me. We are very, very complimentary of each other, albeit, yep, we have our times, but on the whole, we're very positively complimentary.
Yin and yang.
Alan, I want to ask you, for the person that's scared to say, I'm going through this, or this is what I think, and it's because of my past. I'm just too scared to do that. But if they did that, how freeing they would feel.
Yeah.
Right? That's what I'm asking. Is that right?
Yes, it is. I was fearful too. And fearful of judgment. I think I was also fearful of facing all of my past too, because I didn't want to feel all that. And it was unconscious. So courage is unbelievably important in this. I think you know what the high road is. Okay, get a therapist or don't get a therapist. The high road is get a therapist. The high road is the one that requires courage. Do you know how many times during this interview I've had to say something that required courage? The high road is the one that requires courage. The low road is taking the easy road every freaking time. No, I don't need a therapist. You know what? I don't need a coach. I don't want to start that business. You know what? I'm not going to quit drinking. I don't really have a problem. That's all ego. when you mentioned surrounding yourself with the right people, I've been saying this, and I do got to jump in a second because I got a coaching call, but I'm so grateful to have been here. This is what I've been saying lately. If you have humility, work ethic, and grit, and you really do want to put in the effort, you're going to like me a lot. If you take personal responsibility, you're going to like me a lot. If you're entitled, ungrateful, lazy, and you want massive rewards for minimal effort, you're going to freaking hate me. So just don't even reach out. The wrong people are entitled. The opposite of gratitude is entitlement. I'm grateful to be here. I'm grateful to serve. I'm not getting paid to be here. I'm grateful to be here. You guys are grateful to have me. This is wonderful. Those are the kinds of people you want to have in your life. These spoiled brat, entitled people, just sail away. If I could go back, and I would say, Alan, you need to get away from the arrogant, entitled people. You have to, because they're just constantly tearing you down every time you reach for better. And whether it's consciously or unconsciously, and you just got to sail away. And so the biggest mistake I ever made was surrounding myself with the wrong people. And the best decision anyone can make is to get a coach or a therapist or reach out to that mentor and to get yourself around some better people. And yeah, some of them will let you down. Some of my mentors and coaches, I am wildly disappointed. Some of them were completely full of it. But some of them were amazing. And it's much better than the people I grew up with. So do that, and it takes courage.
Alan, I know you have a hard stop. We are going to document in the narrative to this podcast how people can contact you, how they can contact us. Marty and I are coaches as well, and we each in our own ways help people reach their maximum potential. And you are right there, Alan. We do sincerely appreciate you and everything you have shared.
When I saw you guys on my calendar today, I got so excited. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. And yeah, reaching your true potential, that is what it's all about. So thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Right on. Great to be with you, Alan. We'll talk to you soon.
Talk soon.
Bye.
We appreciate having the opportunity to share our and our guests' life experiences with you.
The Cooper culture advances organizations to achieve and sustain high retention rates, connected communication, and trust through personality insights and principled leadership. You can contact us at our website, thecooperculture.com, and you can contact us directly at ron@thecooperculture.com or Marty, M-A-R-T-Y, at thecooperculture.com. We work with you to help assess aspects of your culture to advance the environment and people to their best performance. We do that through our staff of certified personal performance coaches, leadership trainers, keynote speakers, and disc personality behavior experts. You can book a speaking engagement directly through our website by contacting us at ron@thecooperculture.com. We look forward to sharing our life experiences with you, some of which are profound, some of which are pretty funny. Some of those life experiences are ones we'll never do that again because we've been through stuff. We truly look forward to working with you, speaking with you, helping advance you in any way that we can.